I lived in the student accommodation for University of Bristol, and honestly, there is a lot of things I wish I had known before moving in. In this video, I would be sharing my experience living in 21 St. Thomas Street. That is one of University of Bristol student accommodation. If you're considering this accommodation or it has been allocated to you, this video would be your personal guide. I would be telling you what it was like living there as a student. We'll talk about the location, room types, and basically what you're getting for your money. Also, how social the accommodation is and how loud the halls can get. So basically a whole lot of things. I would also be sharing personal tips and my overall experience so you can make an informed choice. I know how it can cause a lot of anxiety and it could be overwhelming moving into a student accommodation that you know nothing about. So I hope this video would help you because I have taken a lot of time to make sure I'm giving like a very detailed and research informed review of the accommodation. So I hope that helps. And please don't forget to like, share and subscribe if this video helps you. So before I get into the review, quick background. If you don't want to listen to this, just skip. I have timestamps on the video. So I lived here during my master's. I was in the accommodation for almost a year. I moved in like around January or February because it was last minute because it was difficult for me to find accommodation when I was coming to Bristol. So I was in private accommodation for some time and my tenancy for like the first few months had ended. So I called up student accommodation for the uni and I told them that I was basically going to be homeless and I needed an accommodation. So they were like, they would see what they can do if they have any free spaces. I think I was so lucky to get it because it was kind of already in the middle of the term, almost middle. It was around January, February. People had already settled in. They asked for my price range and they allocated that room to me. So I did not choose the accommodation. I later found out that the room was allocated to someone, but the person had moved out. So the room was basically free. So thankfully I got it. And I'm so glad I got it because the accommodation crisis in Bristol is really crazy. I don't even want to get into that. So yeah, that's that. Let's talk about my first impressions with the accommodation. I really liked it. It was really big and pretty. I do think the name is weird because you think it's the name of a street, but I liked it. It was clean. The social area is really pretty. Entrance is really nice. You need a fob to get in or you press the buzzer to ring the reception. One problem was the lift wasn't working. Also, the building is divided into two, so it's very big. There's A block and there's B block. I think I was in A block and the lift for block A wasn't working and I had like almost 4 full luggages boxes, so that was a bit not good. Well, the manager found a way, so there's a way like the lift for block B links to block A, something like that. So we had to go through block B. That was really nice of him to help me with that. He told me the lift will be fixed by something like next week. Guys, that lift wasn't fixed for almost 2 to 3 months. I hope I'm not exaggerating, but it took more than a month. Thankfully, they gave us free pizza after the lift was fixed. We got a mail saying as compensation, they're offering free pizza and drinks. I was in the 3rd floor, so it wasn't honestly a problem for me. But I can imagine it must have been very difficult for those people living in like the 7th or 8th floor. So yeah, that was my first impression. I will talk about what I thought about my room and reviewing all the other amenities like the social area, the gym, laundry room, cinema room, stuff like that later in the video. I also have timestamps on this video if you want to skip to certain parts. So let's talk about the location of the accommodation and its accessibility. So it's basically located in and around Bristol city centre. It's part of the East Residential Village for UOB accommodation. It actually is very central and walkable. Honestly, it feels more like a city center flat than a traditional student dorm. So it's in a very quiet location, not too quiet, but quiet, especially in the mornings and afternoon because it is surrounded by a lot of offices there, Places around it are very beautiful, especially when you're going like the train station or when you're trying to go to the center or Castle Park. Lovely view. When you come out of the accommodation, it's really nice for a walk because you get to see really nice views. It is also within walking distance to the university, depending on what location of the university your department is in. So, for example, if your department is in Clifton, the walking distance would be a bit more far for you, but in general, it is walkable to university buildings. It's also located close to nearby shopping centers like the galleries, Broadmead, Cabot Circus, all that. It's almost like 15 or 20 minutes walk, so it's really easy for you to get to the city center. Basically, all I'm saying is it's in a very good location location. You can access different parts of the city very easily. There's a lot of bus stops around it, so you can go anywhere. It's very close to Redcliffe train station. You could actually walk to the train station. That's what I loved about it. Whenever I take a train, you can't even take an Uber. It's too close for you to take an Uber, so you can walk to the train station and get back. Even if you have luggage, you can easily do that. It's basically, I think, 15 minutes or less, depending on how fast you walk. Moving on, let's talk about buses. The buses travel frequently between the accommodation, the main university campus, as well as the city center. So there are buses that travel to these locations frequently, easily. One thing to note is most undergraduate students get a free bus pass, so you should check whether that applies to you. So these students mostly take the U1 bus. And note that there are 3 buses that would take you to most of UOB buildings and the city center. So that's bus number 1, number 2, and 2A. Just note that if you take any of these buses always stop at the city center and around Clifton, as well as most of UOB's buildings. One more good thing to note is the bus stop that you would have to stand at when you're going to either city center or the uni is literally 2 or 3 minutes walk from the accommodation. So it's like once you come out of the accommodation, you just have to walk 1 to 2 minutes. And I love that so much for us as students, because sometimes you might be running late and it just makes things easier. You don't have to get up extra early to go to the bus stop. Does that make sense? So for me, based on experience, I tend to walk to my university building, which was in Clifton. It took me like 45 minutes walk, which was a lot considering I had to go through Park Street, and Bristol is really hilly. I just liked walking because then I was trying to lose weight, and it just, like I said, the view around is really beautiful. So sometimes it just made me feel mentally better walking instead of taking the bus. I felt more active before starting classes, which was good. So you need to find out what works for you and how close your department building is, whether it's easier for you to take a bus or to walk there. If you're going to Senate House or Wills Memorial or Beacon House, those libraries, it is actually easy if you don't mind the hill on Park Street. So yeah, that's that. One more thing that I want to add that's really good about its location is there are really cafes that are close by. So there's Tesco Express, that's 10 minutes walk easily, whatever you need to get, and there's Co-op, which is 7 or 8 minutes, so that is really good for you to pick up something. There's also a Subway, there's a Pret Cafe. They're just cafes scattered around it, which makes it easy for that like late night craving, or if you need to get quick groceries. Oh my god, one more thing, there's also a Greg's. Note that. The accommodation also has bike storage. If you have a bike, it's located on the ground floor. I would put the specific here. One more thing to note is there isn't parking, so you can't park your car if you have one. The nearest car parks are in this location and this location. Let's talk about safety. How safe is the accommodation and the surrounding? In general, I think it's pretty safe, but there are a few problems that I would let you know. First of all, the good thing is there is a fob. So you need a fob to get into the accommodation, a fob to get into your block actually, a fob to get into the social area, as well as a fob to get into your apartment, and a fob to get into your room. So there's a whole lot of security going on. So I think that's a good thing. There is a club near the accommodation, so it gets really rowdy and noisy on weekends. And also for people who are in Block A, that is where I lived, there's literally a travel lodge opposite us, and sometimes people tend to come out in the night and fight or get drunk or smoke. So there's a lot of shouting. It doesn't feel really safe during weekends, especially when you're passing through travel lodge, and travel lodge is actually, it's located immediately after you come out of the accommodation. So you don't feel too safe, but I haven't heard of an incident. That doesn't mean it is safe. Just keep that in mind. But apart from that, it is honestly pretty safe. There's a lot of offices there. Like I said previously, it is quiet. I have never felt unsafe. I walk evenings, I go out at night, like let's say to go to Tesco or maybe 10 or 11 p.m. You might see creepy people walking or drunk people, but I have not really felt unsafe. So in general, the location honestly and everything feels safe, except from those little things that I have previously mentioned. Let's talk about the cost of the accommodation and its value for money. So there are basically 3 room types in this accommodation. I have put the prices here, and that's what it costs flats, they are all self-catered. So the tenancy is a fixed term contract. It's from 7th September to 30th August, depending on the year. So that's how like the range is. So it's fixed. So let's talk about the rooms. They have three categories of rooms. So first is your studio room. Your studio room would come with your own kitchen and your own toilet. So it's like an ensuite with your own kitchen and a little common, it's like your own space basically. You're not sharing with anyone. The next one is a 2-bed flat. So the 2-bed flat would have 2 single rooms for 2 people, but these 2 people would be sharing 1 kitchen and 1 toilet and a small dining area. So that's what they would be sharing if you get a 2-bed flat. The next category of rooms they have is an ensuite. So an ensuite is where you have your own room and your own toilet in your room, but then you would be sharing a kitchen and living space with 11 or 12 people. So all those 11 or 12 people would have their own rooms and their toilets, but you guys would be sharing a kitchen and a living space. That's how it is. So these are the 3 categories of rooms they have for this accommodation. One more thing is there are single sex flats. So if you want a flat where it's all girls or all boys, but make sure you request for it because I don't think you can automatically get it. So if that is a requirement, you should do that. Mine was a single sex flat. So let's talk about what's included in your room. So it's basically bills included, everything, your light, water, all those stuff, as well as gym. You don't need to pay for the gym and Wi-Fi. Things that are not included in your rent is your laundry. You have to pay for your own laundry, as well as the cleaning. There's no one doing the cleaning. You have to do that on your own. So my conclusion based on the cost is I do feel like it's definitely expensive. I got a 2-bed flat, which was expensive. I think you need to decide based on your budget and your priorities. Also, maybe consider the accessibility, the location, and maybe how you don't have to pay as much for transport. So let's get into the room review. I lived in a 2-bed flat. I just shared with one other person. I would review how the shared space is later, but now let's get into my room. My room was very big, not too small, but for your normal student accommodation room that I have seen other rooms, it wasn't small, honestly. My bed was big. It was a double bed. And if I'm being honest, it feels like it was bigger than a double bed, but it was not a king-sized bed because I was having problems with bed sheets. When I tried to get a double bed sheet, it was too small. I loved the look of the bed. The mattress was comfy, and there were also drawers above the bed so you could store anything you wanted on there. There was a blue couch. I loved the couch. I didn't sit much on it, but it's good for when you have guests. There is also a heater. I love the heater. The heating was very good, so don't worry about heating during winter. Absolutely amazing. I love the heating. There was a very long desk table where you could work. So I think I would call it a workspace because there's a lot of storage. There's a notice board above the desk and some drawers. There's also like a lot of storage above the desk where you can put a lot of stuff. There's also a gaming chair. I love that chair so much. I have a very bad story with that chair. I'll tell you about it later. But I love that gaming chair. It was really nice and comfortable. It helped with my productivity. I love that location of the room because my window was close to that location, and sometimes I would open it. There would be sunlight coming in. I was able to watch other people. My view was directly opposite an office, so I was able to get good sunlight, good vitamin D, and watch other people be productive and also be productive. That's one of my favorite parts of the room, that workspace. I did a lot of things there. I love the storage parts that's above the desk because I'm someone who makes a lot of videos. I used to place my iPad or my phone on there to either like record myself talking or record my outfit for the day. If you're someone who likes to film, that is a very good location to put your phone. Or even if you're doing video calls with your family. One more thing I want to add is the lighting of the room is amazing. I love the lighting so much. The bulbs are nice, as well as like the sunlight that's coming in. The window is not too big, but it's also not too small. There's also a good mirror. The location of my mirror was really nice. So it was good to like take a lot of mirror selfies. In general, I want to add that there's actually a lot of storage in that room. Apart from all the storage I have shown you, there's also a whole wardrobe where you can put your clothes, and the wardrobe is big. It doesn't look big from the outside, but it actually comes with 2 drawers. There's also storage underneath the bed. The desk also comes with drawers, a whole lot of storage. So if you have a lot of stuff, don't worry about it. One more thing I want to add is there are blinds in the room, but if you're someone who wants total darkness, you won't be able to get that because there would, especially during summer, there would still be a lot of light that would be coming in. So maybe you would need to get sleeping masks. In conclusion, did I like my room? Yes, I really, really loved my room. It was my safe space. It made the stress of my master's more bearable. I think my room is very cozy. I didn't really decorate it or made it too fancy, but I did love it. It was my safe space, like I said. My favorite part of my room was the desk area where I was able to prop up my iPad and make a lot of talking videos. I actually have some of those videos now published on my channel in a playlist that I call Past Diary Entries. I also use that place to practice presentations. It's very versatile, basically what I'm saying. I love that part of my room. So hopefully you're also able to utilize it as much as I did. Two things I did not like about my room. First of all is the view. I think I have said it previously, but my room had a bad view. If I looked down, I was looking at Travel Lodge and people that came out of Travel Lodge who were either drunk or just shouting or smoking. Or when I look straight ahead, I'm looking at offices and people working. So it wasn't a really like beautiful view. I did make it better by putting some flowers there. Sometimes I did buy flowers and I kept them near the window. So that made it look better when my blinds were down. Next thing is noise. Again, Travel Lodge. It was very noisy. But the good thing is, I think when you close the window, I can't remember, but when you do close the window, the noise isn't as bad. You can still hear it, but it's more bearable when you close the window. Oh my God, sorry. The noise is not only because of people from Travel Lodge. It's actually also because of construction. You know, I previously told you there's a lot of construction going on. And there are times when the construction, even if you close the window, it's not bearable. So yeah, if you're allocated to Block A, note that you would have to deal with that. Now let's review my shared space. I lived in a 2-bed flat and I shared the space with only one other person. So we got to share a kitchen and a toilet and a small dining area. The kitchen, lovely, big. There was a lot of storage. Everything the kitchen comes with: a kettle, toaster, oven, hob. I loved the fridge so much. The fridge was really big, and the freezer. So it was big enough for 2 of us to put everything we needed. So yeah, the kitchen was big. There were multiple cupboards, lots of storage space. That was really good. To review the dining area, it was not, I won't honestly even call it a dining area. It was a very tiny space it was just a desk that was literally opposite our toilet with 2 chairs. It wasn't even comfortable. We hardly used it. We did not like it. There was a huge notice board. It was not really, I don't think that was a dining area. I did not like it. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of it. That's that. I didn't like the dining area. Why am I even calling it dining area? It wasn't a dining area. It was just a desk in the hallway with 2 chairs and a notice board. Not nice. Let's talk about the toilet. Now, this is where I am going to be negative. The toilet was really small. I don't know whether in their head it was because we were just 2 people. I did not like the toilet. A whole lot of problems with the toilet. First of all, there's no ventilation. There wasn't a fan that removed, let's say, steam or smell like toilets do. There's also no drainage. Apart from the drainage from the place where you take a shower, there's no drainage on the floor, like where this toilet seat is, or if, let's say, you're washing your hands and water pours on the floor, you would have to just mop it or air dry it. And then another thing is, like, the floor wasn't tiles, the floor wasn't, I don't know, it was just not like a floor. So it was paper, not paper, but something that was similar to paper. I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain that, but just note, I did not like the toilet. When you sat on the toilet seat, you could not really move too much. It was really small, honestly. I don't know. I did not like it, but there was a mirror in the toilet. I don't even think there was cupboard. There was a cupboard in the toilet for storage. But yeah, I think it's the only place where I would say did not have good storage. But yeah, that's that. Did not like the toilet. I hope yours is better. Let's talk about noise levels for my flat and actually the accommodation in general. For my flat, my flatmate could hear me. I am someone who is mostly awake all night, so that wasn't good. Because like the little less noise, it wasn't even about me being noisy or shouting. If I was playing something on my phone, she could easily hear it. If I was playing something on my computer, because we shared a wall, so it was just easy. Whatever you were doing, both of you could hear it. So that wasn't, but apart from that, in our flat, we actually couldn't hear what was happening in other flats. So it wasn't that bad. It was just within our flat. So that was good. We had just one headache to deal with. I just want to give a review of my flatmate situation. I think I was very lucky. There's a pro and con to having a 2-bed flat in the sense that you guys are actually kind of living together, in the sense that you guys are in each other's space, even though you have your own room, but you would have to come out to the kitchen, have to share the toilet. So it would be really good if the person you're living with in that flat is someone you like or someone you have a good relationship with. If not, you would be a bit frustrated because it's not like an ensuite where you have your room and your toilet and you only go out when you need to go to the kitchen. It's like you guys aren't kind of in each other's face, but with a two-bed flat, there is a risk if because you can't choose who you live with. But for me, guys, I was so lucky. The person I lived with, Alhamdulillah, is a Muslim. Like, we just clicked immediately and we had a good relationship. We still have a good relationship. She is one of the best people I have met in Bristol. We're able to bond and do things together because I remember praying so much that whoever I lived with was a good person. And thankfully, like, that really happened. So just pray, guys. Pray you don't share a two bed flat with someone you don't like because it won't be a nice experience. But for me, it was good. So I pray for that for you too. Let's talk about the amenities. I would go into an in-depth review for each of them. So they have a gym, a cinema room, a laundry room, a courtyard. And why am I adding lift? I want to add lift because I want to say that the lift is good because you get to take a lot of mirror selfies. I think that's a good point to add. So yes, lift. And lastly, a social area. Let's get into reviewing the social area. So the social area is made up of a lot of things. There's a lot going on in that place. First of all, there's a meeting room, there's a kitchen, there's a study room, there's games going on. And did I add that there's also a TV area? And also in general, there's just a lot of just chairs and places to sit in the social area that you can just sit and chill and watch people playing games or just chill. I could also work on your assignments or do any other thing in that social area. You could also take pictures. I love taking pictures. But yeah, that was a good space for if you did not want to feel alone but also did not want to socialize. Let's get into reviewing specific things in the social area. First of all, let's talk about the meeting room. I really loved the meeting room. It was my favorite place. It is really like comfortable and nice. You could book the meeting room. I loved sitting there because the chairs were comfortable. I don't know why I was specific about that, but I loved that. If you had specific meetings or group studies, you could book the meeting room and you could do that there. So it's always open but can be booked. That's what I'm trying to say. The next thing is the study room. The study room is quiet. So you can make conversations in the meeting room even if you're not the only one because it's always open and anyone can enter. But in the study room, it's specifically quiet. So anyone can go into the study room, but it's not for conversation. So it's basically quiet. I'm not too fond of the study room because I don't like the chairs. It feels too, I don't know how to explain it, too low. But that's why I said I prefer the chairs in the meeting room. But yeah, that's the study room. Moving on to the kitchen. The kitchen is really big. You can also book the kitchen for either, mostly when I see people book the kitchen, it's mostly for, let's say, events or when they're celebrating birthdays. It's actually multi-purpose. You can study there. A few things I have done in this kitchen is I have invited like a few of my friends, a whole bunch of my friends during my exams, and we had a whole study session for a whole day there. It was very chaotic. It was a lot of us. We ate there, we studied, very chaotic, but that was really nice. The chairs aren't too comfortable, but yeah, I think the kitchen is really nice to have. There's a microwave there for you to warm your food, there's a sink, everything. Another pro for the kitchen is you can actually take really nice pictures there. And there's also a corner of the kitchen where you can take a picture, and then there's a view of the courtyard. So it's like the kitchen has a really nice view where you can see the courtyard. The courtyard is really pretty. I'll talk about that later. So for other things in the social area, so there's a TV area there, and you get the remote from the reception and you can watch whatever movie or whatever it is you want to watch with your friends. One thing I have to put is, so the TV is actually directly looking at the meeting room. So it's a bit distracting sometimes because so one day I wanted to study with my friend, and there were these Indian guys that were watching an Indian movie and we were trying to study, and we ended up, especially if the volume of what they're watching is very high, and we ended up being distracted and watching what they were watching, even though we did not plan. So that is funny. There is also a vending machine. I love that vending machine. I remember always going downstairs to get like Twix or Kinder Bueno. There's a lot of snacks in the vending machine and drinks as well as Coke. Whenever I deceived myself into thinking I had stopped taking Coke, that was my lifesaver. There is an advantage and disadvantage. If you're trying to not eat junk, that is not a good thing to have, but it is good to know that there's a vending machine downstairs where you can easily get something. So let's talk about the games in the social area. There's table tennis, there's pool and football. These games really made the social area lively because, especially table tennis, there's always someone playing table tennis. There's always a match going on. That was really entertaining to sit and just watch people playing games. What I loved about the social area, also note that it's open 247, so it's never closed. What I loved about the social area in general is it had a way of making you not feel alone. So, especially if you've, let's say, been in your room for so long, or if you're someone who doesn't have friends, when you sit down and you see people being lively and playing games or just laughing, even if you're not with them, it just makes you feel less alone. Let's talk about the laundry. So, for laundry, you do your laundry on your own, like I said previously, and you pay for it using the Circuit app. You need to download that. So, washing is £3.40 and drying is £1.90, which I think can rack up and be expensive if you're someone, let's say, who washes every week or every few days. Funny enough, guys, do you know what I have seen when we were moving out? I'm deviating a bit, but when we were moving out of the accommodation and people were dumping things they did not want, I swear to God, I saw someone dump a washing machine. So someone literally bought like a mini washing machine. I just found it funny. I don't even think that's allowed. Don't go and buy a washing machine based on my recommendation, please. I am not saying you should get a washing machine. I just said what I saw. I don't know whether the uni is even allowing it. Check the terms and conditions if you're going to get a washing machine in your room or living area. I don't know. But yeah, to review the laundry room in general, it's not too big, not too small. What I love about it is there's a lot of washers and a lot of dryers. So except maybe on weekends, there isn't mostly a line. You hardly go there and find everywhere full. There's always an empty washer or dryer. So you don't have to actually stress about anything or be in a rush. So let's talk about the Courtyard, which is my favorite place in the entire accommodation. I have so many stories. This Courtyard, I don't think I'm going to say them because this video is going to be long and you don't really care. You just want to know about the accommodation. But all I'm saying is the Courtyard is a very big space. If I'm being honest, it's not pretty in the afternoon. But it is really calming and pretty in the night. You're able to see the sky and the birds. There's just something calming about it. There are benches there. You could go and sit either in the afternoon with your friends or just by your own. I mostly go in the night and I just sit there. I sat there during Ramadan, especially during those last 10 nights. And it was really calming to just sit down and watch the birds and look up. And it also started drizzling. So sometimes it rains while you're there. There are actually a few trees there, nothing too serious, but it is a really nice space to go out and clear your head if you don't want to go out. So you feel like you're outside. So let's talk about the gym. For the gym, there is an access card. Your gym is open 247, but you need to get your gym card from the reception in exchange for your university ID card. The gym card is very ugly. I need to say that. I don't know why. I like pretty things. Gym is very big. I love it. It tends to not be populated during weekdays. I don't go during weekends because it gets very busy during weekends. It really has good equipment. There are 3 treadmills, 1 bicycle, 1 rowing machine, and a lot of balloons and balls as well as dumbbells. Guys, I'm really not a gym girly, but you know that whole big thing. I'm sorry, but the big thing where people put weights and they put a bench chair and they have that too. I don't know the name. There are mirrors. I love the mirrors. I take a lot of like mirror selfies. I sound like an unserious person, but I do go to the gym, honestly. It's not for the weights mostly. Sometimes what I love about the gym is you can go any time of the night, whether it's 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. One more thing I love about the gym, guys, there's literally a toilet immediately after you come out. I don't know why I have a thing with toilets. There's actually a very clean toilet. So there's one toilet in the social area, and I love the fact that there's one toilet close to the gym and I don't have to go to the toilet in the social area, or I don't have to go upstairs. So I think that was really smart of them. I think it's a really lovely gym. I love the treadmill. You could connect it to your iPad or your phone. You could do Pilates on the floor. And yeah. The next thing is social life and the community of the accommodation. So there were a lot of social gatherings that the management facilitated. I didn't go for much of them because I was busy trying to survive and finish the masters, not me being dramatic, but there were a lot of activities that the management created. They also had a welcome event. I heard about it, although I did not start with them. And there was also an end of session dinner. I did not go for it. I was busy, but the concept seemed really nice. So I love the fact that they did incorporate activities for students from different flats to bond and get to do things together and get to know each other. That was really nice. I love that. One more thing is they really like the management. They were very proactive. There was a lot of things that they did. You would just get a mail for about free breakfast. Like I told you, they did the whole pizza party, and there would just be free breakfast or free lunch where they would have like snacks or muffins, a whole lot of things, just randomly out of nowhere. Sometimes you don't even send a mail. You just see it and they're like, oh, you can help yourself. yourself. Another thing, freebies. I love that about the management. There would also be freebies if you wanted. There was a time where they were sharing skincare freebies. They have shared other freebies that I can't remember. So I think that was really good on their part. So about mental health support, they do offer student support if you're dealing with your mental health. There's a whole team that you can contact that is specifically for providing support for students who live in student accommodations, which I think is really good. So is it easy to make friends in this accommodation? I wouldn't say it is easy, and I wouldn't say it is difficult. If you live in a two-bed flat like mine, it might be more difficult because people in two-bed flats were kind of isolated, which is why I said it would make things better if you have a flatmate that you like. Even if you lived in an ensuite, which is 11 of you guys sharing one kitchen, it would have to be if you have the courage to talk to people or if someone approaches you, which is why I think I love the social area, because it is easier for you to make friends in the social area if you're able to approach people. So all I'm trying to say is, even if you don't like your flatmates, note that there is a social area where you can find people who you have things in common with, and just approach them and talk to them. And you don't know, you might build a whole new friendship. I think they've really done an amazing thing with that social area. So yeah, in general, I would say the accommodation is good for extroverts and introverts depending on how you use it and how you navigate yourself around the place. I did not feel isolated. I think because I really loved my flatmate, and I am someone who was an introvert, and I was dealing with stress from my master's, so I did not really want to socialize that much. I was already socializing with my course mates, so that was enough for me, and with my flatmate. So just find a way to make things work for you. If you're someone who is introverted and want to stay alone, then that's fine. But if you want to meet more people, I really think you can make connections in that accommodation if you put yourself out there. Next thing is, let's talk about the maintenance and management of the accommodation. In general, honestly, I do think the staff was very responsive and they handled issues immediately. I would really give them that. They were really good at that. If you just need to log in your complaint at the reception, literally, if you complain about something in the morning, same day someone would come to fix it or talk to you about it either in the morning or the following day. They were very quick with repairs. So one thing I need you to really remember is, if there's an issue with anything in your flat or your room, make sure you complain about it, you lodge a complaint. If not, if you forget about it and you just leave it, when you're leaving the accommodation, they're going to report it as you're the one who damaged it and you would have to pay for it. Something similar happened to me. I'll tell you about it later. A few tips that I want to give you is, first of all, when you move into the accommodation, make sure you take a picture of everything, even if it's like a little scratch that's on the wall. There's sometimes people put their shoes and the painting gets dirty, still take a picture of it. I don't care, because something happened to me. The gaming chair I told you, when I was given the room, the chair, the leather seat was damaged, so it had started to come off, and I just thought it was normal wear and tear, and I didn't think to like lodge it as a complaint. When I was leaving the accommodation, they fined me. They said I damaged the leather seat, so the sitting part of the chair is leather, and then it started to come off, because with time, when you sit on something that's leather, it starts to come off. They said I damaged. I followed up with an appeal. I still had to pay £50. They first charged me £100, which is more than the price for the whole chair, because now in my new place that I live, I actually bought the same chair. Do you want? Let me show you. Not me bringing a whole chair, but this is the chair. As you can see, is leather, and then the sitting part is leather. I bought the whole chair again, and this chair was like £50, and they wanted to charge me £100. I did an appeal, and they changed it to £50. They said that they could not remove the entire amount because I don't have evidence. I did not take a picture. The pros of the accommodation, I think all scattered through the video, I have said things I like about it, but one pro that I am thinking of is deliveries. So I love the fact that when you order something, it's delivered to the reception, and then you get a mail on your phone with a code, and you're just able to go and collect it from the reception. I love that, because most of the times I was busy outside with school, so I did not have to worry about being called by my delivery driver or my deliveries getting lost. I always knew that they were safe at the reception, and then your letters were actually delivered to your room. That was good. You don't have to stress about that. Two cons I can think of now is, the first one, which I did not like the toilet. I really hated the toilet. The second con is the noise level of my flat. I wish the walls weren't as thin. So yeah, that's it. My final verdict about this accommodation is, honestly, I think it's very expensive, if we're being honest, but I really think the location is gold and the amenities are really nice. Everything for me was spot on. It really, really made life easier for me. My master's was really difficult and busy and hectic, all those words. And just the fact that I could easily access different parts of the city and easily buy things, go to the gym, didn't have to worry about orders, a whole lot of things. I had access to meeting rooms, study rooms, the vending machine. It really made masters very bearable. So I think it depends on you. You need to check your priorities and what is most important for you. But I think the location is really gold and they have really done well with their amenities. And I do think the management has really put in effort to make the whole student life as easy and convenient as possible, considering with them like organizing parties and how they are very on point with maintenance, stuff like that. Specifically, a huge shout out to the manager. I don't know if he is the one, I don't want to call out his name for privacy, but he is a really nice person. I don't know whether they would change managers, but I was in the accommodation from 2023 to 2024. So that specific manager for that timeline, he was really like kind. He always had this attitude. You always felt like he was there for you. He was there to make life easy for you. He always wanted to help. He had this way of saying, we're here to make things easy for you. Let me know if you have any problem, which was really kind of him. He did not have to do that, but me and my flatmate really loved him. And I hope he is doing well. I really have to shout him out. I think one of the reasons why the accommodation was as good as it was, I think is really thanks to how he managed it. Am I saying too much? But yeah, thank you. I don't think he would ever see this video, but I just want to say thank you to him because he really like made my stay there very amazing. And this thank you is from me and my flatmate because she raved about him so much. She always had positive things to say about him. I know if she got the opportunity, she would say exactly the same thing that I am saying about him. So yeah, that's that. Oh my god, I forgot to add one thing. A cinema room. They have a cinema room which is in block A. The cinema room is not the best. There isn't much going on there. I wish it was a carpet. I hope they've changed it by now, but it's basically tiles there, if I can remember, and it's just bean bags that are there. Nothing too fancy. It's not really comfy. I don't like the cinema room with a projector. You need to get the remotes from the reception whenever you want to use it. The remote and the key, I think. But I didn't really like the cinema room. I just went in there once to use it and it wasn't giving cinema room. It wasn't comforting, so I just let it go. I would rather use the TV space in the social area. I do think that's better because the chairs are more comfortable. So yeah, that's that. I really hope you found this detailed review that I made helpful. I poured so much time and research and love into it. This is as much for you as it was for me because I really loved living there. So doing the research for this and compiling all the pictures and videos made me feel as if I was living that experience again. It definitely made my life easier than I kept saying. And I hope if you get that accommodation, you enjoy your stay there as much as I did or even more than I did. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them down. I have a whole playlist on my channel where I give more reviews about University of Bristol, the amenities, where the libraries and other stuff. Also have another playlist on my channel where I review Bristol as a city, my favorite spots and stuff like that. Don't forget to check that out and please don't forget to like this video, share, comment and subscribe. Bye.